What is up, fellow sickos? I am Dan Favale coming at you with another, whatever this segment is called, Blog Boy Banter. I have no idea. Didn't come into this thinking about a name, but this is the third installment of it. So if you'd like to name it, submit your nomination in the YouTube comments or our Discord. The link to that's in the podcast and YouTube description. It's open for now. Won't be open to everyone for much longer, but it is open for now. So another reason for you to get in there and join. And just, hey, remember, subscribe. I don't like doing it at the top, but as you can see, if you're new here, this channel puts out a ridiculous amount of content. You're welcome, or I'm sorry. So let's get to, I want to talk about this Jaylen Brown, Bronny James situation. JB was at Summer League and commenting to Kysre Gondrezick, apparently, according to lip reading experts, about how Bronny James isn't a pro. I think we need to watch that clip, tackle it, see if that's exactly what he said. Shout out to anyone who could read lips. I don't know how much stock I place in it, but he also did it respond. So there's a few layers here to it. So let's get to the clip itself. Jaylen Brown. I don't think Bronny is a pro. Kysre Gondrezick. I think he'll be on the G League team for sure. To which JB says, I don't think so. I think because of his name, he'll be on the Lakers. I am not an expert lip reader. I've never placed too much stock in it. You can see when people emphasize and there's like a fuck you in the middle of a game. But when you have people, putting captions to conversations that don't really have a ton of sound to it, you're always in iffy territory. Most people come out and rebuke it. JB did not necessarily do that. And we'll get to that in a minute. I don't know what else he could have been saying. It does look like, I'll just let it playing for anyone who wants to watch it on a loop. It does seem like he might be saying pro, and it does kind of seem like Kysre says G League. And then you see him, it seems like at the end that does say Lakers. So I guess it could be that. The other thing would be, what else is it? But now that we have this, this caption, this narration in our mind, are we sure that this is exactly what it is? So you play it and it's JB saying, I don't think salami belongs in Jello. Kysre says, I think it belongs in tea leaves and cream s'mores. JB says, I don't think so. I think because of its cold frame, it's best with a bread flavor. That could be it. That could really be it. I think that maybe, can we rule that out that they were talking about salami? I have no idea. But what I will say is, so you look at right here when he says the first comment, look at his face kind of off to the side and cut off from this angle. He's like got the kind of the grimace or that Thor fake smile from, I think that was Thor Ragnarok that was from. So we have to chalk this up to, okay, if that's what he's saying, I guess it would make sense. His face would be like that. Sort of like, man, I don't think Bronny is a pro. I guess that means that this is legitimate. However, I would say what lends legitimacy to it is what Jaylen Brown's response was. So let's throw up the tweet that he had on the screen. So Jaylen quote tweeted the video and said, it's a flex to have your son alongside you in the NBA. It reflects greatness and longevity. Bronny has all the tools around him to be successful. I look forward to watching his growth. That's an innocuous tweet. What it is not, and I hate doing these things, it's not this outright denial. That's not what I was saying. We were talking about something completely different. And if this is kind of him sort of admitting that, oh, hey, yeah, I absolutely did say that, I respect it a little bit, just because you don't see players or anyone really do this if they're caught doing something wrong or doing something that doesn't put them in the best light. And so you have to give him credit for that. But I also hate reading between the lines. And there are so many different ways to look at it. One, Kysre's right, I would argue, because we've had JJ Redick say that Bronny James is going to spend time with the Lakers G League affiliate. And if he is playing real NBA minutes, that's now a bunch of people have said it. We did the mock Skip Bayless video, but of course now you have Jaylen Brown saying that he thinks he's going to be with the Lakers. I don't know if anyone has seen the betting lines and is there an over under on how many minutes or total points Bronny James scores with the Lakers this season? I don't I would probably smash the under on it. What is the you can get in garbage time reps and maybe the Lakers wind up having a ton of garbage time, whether they're ahead or behind, but they have not framed this as this is something that's going to be immediate. I would agree with Jaylen in the sense that he's going to be given the tools to succeed. He's with a Lakers organization that, look, we make jokes about the Lakers and they deserve it. The front office has been, when it comes to bigger transactions, when you're looking at free agency, when you're looking at trades, they've by and large been really bad with what they've done, but they've hit on just some internal guys. They're not all young. Like Austin Reeves isn't this super young prospect, but he's a success story for the organization. Alex Caruso is playing in OKC, and they let him go to Chicago. But he's a success story for them. Even just to, Lonzo Ball before he gets injured. Like, yeah, they drafted him high, ditto for Brandon Ingram, but Josh Hart, Kyle Kuzma, these are all success stories. And Max Christie, I mean, not just because of the contract he got, but just the idea of Max Christie as just that guy who's basically the closest thing to a 3-and-D wing this team has right now, unless you want to try and shoehorn LeBron into that mold, which really just probably shouldn't. So they've done a good job of sort of, I guess, mining their own talent on the margins, I feel like. But I mean, they've made some mistakes. Jalen Hood-Schifino doesn't look like he's gonna. Every team makes mistakes, but so you need to give him credit for that. This was not purely a basketball decision. We know it was about LeBron. Okay, I don't really know what that matters, and I find myself considering a couple things here. One, I don't think there's a level of cringiness, but I feel it all the time because I'm talking about this. You have these adults commenting on teenagers, and it's just they can't always just say nice things. That's not the nature of the business, although some people really do just masturbate over everything that happens on the floor. Uncontested layup. Oh my God, that dude was a hashtag problem. But it is weird. It's just I find myself when I'm talking about rookies and prospects specifically, not that they reach certain point, age 22, age 25. I'm just like, yeah, let me uncork this. I mean, we're going to get to a point in, I don't know how many years, a few years, where I'm just going to be older than every single NBA player in the league. And so you're going to have to get past that. But that makes me feel uncomfortable. However, nothing Jaylen Brown said was super egregious in the sense that if you don't think if you don't think Bronny James is an NBA player, that's perfectly fair. He just went number 55 in the draft. He was ranked higher as a prospect before he had his cardiac episode last summer. And I think we should all be rooting for every player that comes in the league. And I'll use Donovan Clingan as an example. He's had some monster blocks in summer league. I've enjoyed watching those highlights. I was so low on him coming out of the draft. And I won't shift my opinion based off summer league, but I welcome it when I'm wrong because you're never rooting against a player unless you just find out that they're, a shitty ass human being. So it would be cool if Bronny James ends up being this NBA caliber player. And I don't know that we could rule it out just based off, you saw some air balls in summer league. Yeah, it's not ideal and probably not the best harbinger, but let's kind of see what happens. I don't think Jaylen Brown is doing anything wrong here. And again, do we even know that he said it? I guess we know that he said it because he basically admitted it in the quote tweet, which again, just hat tip to that. I want to see more NBA players go that route. We just need to put this back up on the screen. Yeah, I could see him saying, I don't think Bronny James is a pro. That could actually happen. The fact that we have the quote tweet evidence that seems like he's not denying it. I'm not saying he has to do this, he has to do that. So I think it's fair just to say, all right, he said something to that effect. And whoever's reading those lips, kudos. And I know they said there was some audio to it. I wonder if NBC Boston posts this. I wonder if there's any blowback there from the Celtics organization. That's a little awkward. The thing I will say though is that Jaylen Brown has been around a minute or two. He's on his Supermax contract. He's got to understand that the cameras are always on him as just this star that's at a game. And I mean, maybe do we blame this on Nike too somehow? Just like him not getting on to Team USA, which, by the way, I think it's fair in a vacuum to say, well, Jaylen Brown would have made the most sense as a Kawhi Leonard replacement. I also do agree that with the people that said Derek White's probably less likely to agitate if he doesn't play. So I think that's a fair stance. I honestly just can't bring myself to care about that stuff. But so Jaylen Brown does drop the ball here a little bit in the sense. Maybe it's because he was dribbling it with his left hand. I don't know. But you got to know in this situation to kind of cover your mouth when you're going to be sitting in the stands. The cameras are eventually going to be on you. I can't criticize him that much or really at all here for that. All jokes about the left hand, Jaylen. You're a finals MVP. I have nothing on you. Congratulations. But this is why they cover their hands. We see them do it on the court because they know the cameras are on them during the game, before the game, after the game. You always have to be kind of mindful. And I will say I would fucking hate living that way. This constant where it feels like even for me specifically, it feels like I'm on this constant negative feedback loop from people. It's worse it's worse for people, minorities, and who have bigger platforms and who are just more important than me. I want to make that clear. But for NBA players specifically, just in comparison, you're always under this constant microscope. And so I can't even sit in a game and talk to Kysre Gondrezick about, I don't think LeBron James is an NBA prospect. Something as innocuous as that. And now it just blows up and some asshole from a HardwoodKnocks podcast is doing a video on it. And And so I get that frustration element. Again, it seems like he owned it. So I'm going to keep an open mind about Bronny James, just like I'm going to keep an open mind about Donovan Clingan. Not comparing the two prospects, but that's the one. Blazers fans are mad at me for how low I was at him. I just don't. He's looked great at a lot of points in summer league. So I'll get. Might be wrong. I was wrong about what did I say about Walker Kessler? I didn't think he was going to have the speed to defend an NBA level. Maybe the Jazz currently agree, but he had like one of the best rim protecting rookie seasons ever, basically. So we're all keeping an open mind about Bronny, and even Jaylen Brown seems like he's rooting for him. But I honestly, the biggest takeaway for me here is that Jaylen Brown owned him saying something. And like that's, maybe something is said, behind the scenes off the record between him and LeBron, but like that just makes me want to watch because I appreciate basically every aspect of the NBA. That's the non-toxic stuff. I know there's a lot of people that only want the X's and O's. Say we need to focus purely on basketball. A lot of people love the transactions. And then there are people that love sort of the theatrics and the dramatics and the memeable moments. I love all of that. And so, like, I do love the storylines, the off court ones that are more profound, have to do with players' upbringing or stuff they're doing away from the court or things that inspired them, getting really into their psyche, their work ethic. I love the stuff that Mir and Fader and Howard Beck does a lot of, and including the Howard Beck stuff's a lot of executive talk behind the scenes. Love all that stuff. But I also kind of just love the theater of, oh my God, is Draymond Green going to castrate this dude tonight? And so, that first Celtics-Lakers game, just going to circle it a little bit. Like, do we put like how does that work? I guess you don't put Bronny like insert him into the game on purpose to put him on Jaylen because I feel like that could end super poorly. However, if you're LeBron, like, is there some extra motivation of, oh, this dude's talking smack about my son on the sidelines? Maybe, like, does LeBron post-rise Jaylen? Does Jaylen play with a little extra sauce that night? So I'm just going to circle it on the calendar when the schedule comes out. Those two Lakers Celtics meetings. And then just the other thing here is like this will lend itself to another discussion, I guess, about whether Bronny James belongs in the NBA. I can't bring myself to get like the Nepo baby stuff. I don't. What if this is all real? Like, is LeBron only on the Lakers because he's Bronny James's father? Nepo daddy? Is that what we call him now? Nepo daddy? Would you really still be playing it going into your age 40 season if it wasn't for Bronny and his social media following and the intrigue of having someone who was formerly in his prime and is clearly no longer in his prime? LeBron's not a top 10 player anymore, right? All jokes. He definitely is. So I like there's that element to it. And so if we want to have a conversation about, well, I don't think Bronny James is a pro, like I would love to hear your thoughts about Chris Smith, Jalen, or Thanasis Antetokounmpo would be another one. Could we throw some Plumlees in here? Like there's in there like 80 of them floating around and we've seen them play NBA minutes. Haven't there been like a few? We have Tyler and Cody Zeller. Wasn't there a few others, or am I misremembering that too? So let's make this a bit where Jaylen Brown's just going to comment on the relatives of legends or actual NBA players. We don't have a legendary Plumlee in our midst, do we? No disrespect to Mason Plumlee intended. So I don't think Jaylen Brown actually did anything wrong here. You definitely, if you're in his position, you need to be a little bit more mindful of like, I guess just where you're like covering. It sucks. Or honestly, you could take the not give a fuck approach where I don't think he actively thought this was going to end up being videotaped, but again, he owned it. I respect it. And we'll just see how Bronny James pans out. But I think this has just a slight layer of interest. It's sort of like a little fun, like off-season aside as of right now. And I honestly just can't get over the two things that I can't get over is that we're like just how much like just lip reading is just like a thing now. I don't even care how faint the audio was that you could like, and then also that Jaylen Brown just kind of owned it. It was just like this is the lip reading thing. I guess that happens all the time on Twitter, but we've seen just so many denials of it. And the fact that there wasn't one from Jaylen Brown, nothing he said was really unfair, other than the fact that does he have any insight into is Bronny going to spend just a crap ton of time with the actual Lakers team outside of practice or being on the bench? If he plays a ton of minutes, we're going to have to tip our cap again. But respect to him for owning it. I guess be a little bit more careful of what you're saying. But if you don't give a flying F, then I shouldn't either. And so that's all I got for you here. Please remember to subscribe. These segments, they're kind of fun to do. They're a little bit awkward as I'm talking to myself here. We're working through them. Grant will do some with me eventually. I think we might continue to pump them out more as like an extra perk. But this channel puts out a ton of content. The podcast puts out a ton of high quality content. So please subscribe across all platforms if you haven't already. Tell people about us, break into their homes. We've already decided, and get into their computers, their phones, their tablets, and subscribe them on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Flood the comment section with comments. I want to know, what do you want to name this segment? Help us name it. And then just your thoughts on all the videos. Positivity, love hearing that, and that's the best way to interact. Not that you just shower us with compliments, although my ego appreciates it, but actual discussions and opinions. So love you all. Continue to help the algorithm. Who continue to help the algorithm love us back a little bit more each day. It feels like you can feel the hug on us getting a little tighter. And thank you to everyone for all the support always. Discord links in the podcast and YouTube description, as are all our social handles. Be on the lookout for that merch drop. Grant and I are going to sync up and decide when we're going to do it. It came out fire, if I do say so myself. So lots of fun things happening here. Until next time. And as always, I leave you with the shout out to the one, the only, the legendary, the one who is absolutely a pro player. And I don't even need to hear Jaylen Brown's thoughts on him or any member of his family or his neighbor's family, or his third cousin's husband's twice divorced family, because we just know that he is great in every single aspect of the term. And I'm talking, of course, about Frank Ntilikina.